topic for today is autonomous finance operations, right? Or autonomous. So just before getting into it, we'll just look at how the trend has been so far, right? When we say autonomous finance operations, right? What is prior to that? What was probably prior to that as well, and then we'll get into the details of it. Okay, so probably one and a half years, 1.5 decades back, in fact, it was largely traditional finance that CFOs were associated with. What I mean by traditional finance is that largely compliance heavy, which means book closure, taxation, a lot of short-term related aspects, working capital, for example. All of those things were the primary requirements or primary KPIs for any CFO or finance organization. So that used to be the case decade and a half back. Things have quite moved towards the strategic finance post that. Obviously with enhancement in technology, right, with more tooling coming in, there has been a lot of automation possibility within the typical finance function activities, which is where strategic finance came in. The difference being, obviously nobody can take out traditional finance activities from a CFO. That's the core of any CFO organization. But the expectation is that you would manage your typical compliance, book closure, all of those activities. In addition to that, you would also contribute to the growth of the company, profitability of the company, to mitigating risk, for example, which in a way is a true business enabler, right? So that was the shift that happened in the last 1.5 years. Again, largely due to the enhancements in, say, tooling, for example, or awareness about what's happening globally, and then incorporating some of the best practices, and a few more other factors. While this has been the trend, right, probably about 2.5 years back, we could clearly see a major differentiating factor that has impacted the whole transformation, which is obviously artificial intelligence, which is where the world is moving towards the next step, which is autonomous finance. So the reason I'm saying it is autonomous finance is because most of what we do today, which could be repetitive, manual, tasks, which could be a lot from a collaboration angle, most of it is getting automated as we speak. We'll cover what that means also in a minute. But I would like to probably stress upon the shift that I was talking to you about and give you some glimpse into why this is happening before we get into what autonomous finance is all about. So traditional finance to strategic finance to autonomous finance, but very, very interesting trend is what I'll show you now. Okay, this is I just wanted to show some usage trends from an AI tooling standpoint, right? So about 2023 beginning, you would see about 50 million users using some or the other AI platforms. Could be ChatGPT, could be Claude, could be any other platform. This is just beginning of 2023. These are general users who came in, right? This is mostly from a querying standpoint, figuring out information rather than going to a Google search. People have used, some people have used the platforms that are there, the LLM platforms that are there, right? You just see just 50 million users. This is 2023 beginning. In about 11 months, that number has doubled, right? You have 100 million users. What changed is that in addition to just figuring out information, people started looking out for insights as well, started asking for feedback, started taking suggestions from the platform. So which is where the number 50 million increased to 100 million. This took probably about 11 months, like I said, right? The next 100 million users got added in just 9 months. From 50 to 100 million, it took 11 months, but 100 to 200, it just took 9 months. What changed here is that in addition to just the chat, you also had voice, you also had images coming in, which again increased the adoption big time. While it took 7 months to come here, as you can see by December itself, it again went up, which is about 4 months. It went up by another 100 million. Just 4 months from 200 million users, the whole number of users have become 300 users. These are weekly active users. These are not users who would have created an account at some point of time and then forgot, right? No. These are weekly active users. In 4 months, from 200 million, it went up to 300 million. What also came around this timeline is that in addition to having general information or general knowledge about what's happening from a web search standpoint, functional depth has come in, which means it was about time to hit the enterprises, right, or functions, because you cannot ignore the depth that the platforms were bringing in. So from there, in about in about say 2 months, another 100 million got added. What took 50 million to get added in 11 months in 2023? There it got doubled in 11 months and then doubled in another 9 months and then doubled in just 4 months and then doubled in 2 months. Look at the pace at which the adoption of AI has been happening, right? And as of now, as we speak, there are about 800 million users who are very active on a weekly basis on most of the AI platforms that you can think of, right? And this number is going to go to about anywhere between 1.5 to 2 billion by end of 2027, which means this is going to cover almost all the working age population that you can think of. This is at a global level, right? So it just took 4 years for everybody to get to some level of AI adoption, which also means enterprises have started adopting to AI. So you will see a lot of folks getting retrained and upskilled on the AI side of pieces. Mind you, these are not users who would have played with some wrapper on top of say some of their ERPs or CRMs. These are folks who have gone actively started creating accounts in some of the LLM models like say ChatGPT or Claude, like I said. So the adoption pace is never heard of. It has surpassed either your cloud adoption or mobile adoption or any other adoption that you could think of. So now coming to what autonomous finance is, that I just wanted to give you a glimpse into everybody's working on AI, everybody is thinking about AI. This skill set is also getting upgraded as we speak, which is where we say autonomous finance operations is going to be the future of finance. The way it can happen is via a 4-pillared approach that we think is the right way to think about. That is what I'll try to highlight in the next couple of minutes. First is the data itself, right? The single source of data that you see here. For any automation to happen, you will need to ensure you have 100% of the data, right? And data could be structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured, doesn't matter. You will need to ensure 100% of the data is in one place. That's when 100% of automation can happen, which is what the AI tools promise is. So that is where you see the whole single source of truth pillar comes in. Like I said, it could come from any structure, any tool, could be your ERPs, CRMs, payment gateways, or structured, unstructured, semi-structured, doesn't matter. 100% of your data is all in one place. So that's the primary pillar. Data itself is the primary pillar. All right. Once you have the primary pillar sorted, then you have the secondary pillar, which is the digital transformation / governance layer, which takes care of once you have data, reconciliation of data is a major problem in finance function. Transformation of data again is a major function in finance function, right? Suppose you have 3 ERPs which would have different data formats. How do you get all of that together? How do you ensure your invoicing data talks to your payment gateway data, that again in turn talks to your ERP, for example? That end-to-end reconciliation and transformation is again getting automated as we speak. A couple of years back, probably the first leg and second leg that we spoke now would have taken almost 70 to 80% of the time from a finance function standpoint. That is fully automated or automatable as we speak as well. In fact, platform like ours, which is Bluecopa, we automate these 2 pillars end to end fully. Right? Once you have these 2 pillars sorted, you have clean, transform, reconciled data on which magic can happen, which is what the third pillar does, which is how do you ensure collaboration happens on data? How do you ensure the co-pilots which are intelligent in doing their own set of activities, which could be, for example, a reconciliation pilot, or could be an AR pilot or an AP pilot, or just data retrieval pilot, for example, right? How do you ensure workflows are intelligently managed? You do not need any coding expertise. You just in an NLP model, you just ask for something and then a workflow gets created automatically in the backend, for example. So all of that intelligent automations are all happening around finance processes in third pillar, as you can see. So the first pillar, like I said, is the data pillar, and the second pillar is the transformation and reconciliation pillar. On that is where intelligence is put in as we speak. Once you have the intelligence built in, intelligence today is at probably solving a point problem statements. Like I said, could be reconciliation, or could be an AR problem, or could be an AP problem. But next couple of years, significant amount of investments are going in ensuring your whole finance use cases are solved. What I mean by that is that, for example, when you close books, probably reconciliation is one aspect of the whole book closure process, but it's still not end-to-end book closure process. So the next set of investments that are going in are to ensure full-scale automation is happening across the larger scheme of things within finance function, be it either book closure side of the things, or management reporting side of the things, or receivable side of the things, payables, treasury, taxation. You can think of a scenario, all of those end-to-end automations are being planned as we speak versus the point problem approach that probably exists today. So in a couple of years, you will see a lot of automation that happens across your core financial aspects. I'll just, again, just the four pillars I wanted to highlight. One is the data pillar, and the second is the reconciliation and transformation pillar, which are fully automated. The third pillar is where most of the companies have already invested in and have achieved some level of maturity, which is the finance processes and intelligence layer. The final one is the use case layer. So as you can see, in a couple of years, you will see tremendous automation happening across major financial aspects, like I said. I just wanted, to give this overview. It might look like too faster change, but as you have seen, the adoption of AI from a resources standpoint has been at that level, right? It's almost doubling every 2 months now. So that's a very high level overview that I wanted to present. I'll just probably take a couple of questions if there are any, else I'm good for now. Okay, cool, no problem. So we have a booth outside in case if you want to discuss anything, right? I'm out there, we can always catch up. Thank you.